This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is April 10th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by Happy Birthday to you.
I wondered.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Jeff Turner. Happy birthday. No, it's Kevin's birthday. Happy birthday, Kevin. What's going on?
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. I wondered. I was like, if he knows it's my birthday, he's not going to tell me. He's going to sneak it into the show somehow. And sure enough, right off the rip. Thank you. Yeah. Another year older, unfortunately. But that's okay. More wisdom, right? As they say. But yeah, doing good. Looking forward to getting to celebrate my birthday today. And what better way to celebrate a birthday than a second consecutive Southeast Division championship by your Orlando Magic. So yeah, feeling good, man. How are you?
I feel great. Again, Southeast Division champs Magic wrapped up the 7th seed tonight with the 96-76 victory over the Boston Celtics. And yeah, I mean, we had talked about this the last couple of episodes and how big these last two Atlanta games were going to be and how you at least had to split that. And once you got the victory last night and you realize that the 2 seed for the Celtics is pretty much wrapped up, they had Jason Tatum play like 47 minutes in overtime last night and they had a big win over the Knicks. You kind of got the vibe that the Celtics weren't going to be playing some of their guys. They ended up not playing any of their guys. And this turned into a perfect opportunity for the Magic to get another win and to just wrap everything up and not have to worry about it down the stretch here. And now, like the Pacers game and the Hawks game, it's not that they don't matter. The Hawks game especially can kind of matter as much as the Magic want it to, and I know we'll talk about that. But yeah, second straight year Southeast Division champs. What is that now? The third time in the last 6 seasons. So the 2018-2019 season, and then last year and this year. I don't think we were the division champs in 2020 because that would have been like the Jimmy Butler Heat, and we kind of just made it in and played the who was that? The Milwaukee Bucks in that series. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure third time in 6 seasons. But when you do it 2 years in a row, and now that the Miami Heat just don't look like a very good basketball team, and the Jimmy Butler era is kind of over, and they don't really have like a true star on that team, even though Tyler Hero was an all-star this year. It's more apparent now, now more than ever, that the pendulum in Florida has swung, and you can't spell Florida without the O, baby. We are back.
Yeah, it feels very different this season than last season, right? Like obviously, like yeah, we finished on top of the Southeast Division, but what does that mean this year? Like it's the worst division in the NBA this year, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, we are the best of the worst, and so yeah, no one can ever take that away from us. But yeah, whatever. It's cool. Again, second year in a row. It feels like hopefully it's 2 of many in a row, hopefully. But obviously we'll see maybe how this offseason goes and then next season.
Yeah, I mean, the Magic, depending on what happens with Atlanta on Sunday, are either going to finish 13-3 or 12-4 in the division. And, even though it's a bad division, it's good to just, win the games that you should be able to win.
Right.
And I want to take a look at last year's standings for the Magic, because something interesting has happened, obviously, with like the home and away record. Last year, you're 29-12. This year, you finish 22-19. So you still have a winning record at home, but winning, how many less games is that? 7 less games at home. But last year on the road, you were 18-23. Right now, you're 18-21. The fact that this team, with all the injuries and all that kind of stuff that has happened, the fact that you could go 20-21 or 19-20, even if you match last year's record, I still think that's an improvement for the Magic. And where the drop off was at home, but I think that was just injuries, and then when guys started to get healthy, you had a pretty significant homestand there that didn't really go your way. But yeah, 40-40, you got 2 games left, a chance to still have a winning season. It feels good to be a Magic fan today.
something that's interesting about, you were talking about the division record, currently 12-3, so it could be 12-4 or 13-3, who knows. Think about this, Jonathan. 2 of those losses came to the Miami Heat at the buzzer and double overtime. So you are literally 2 possessions away from having 1 loss in the division, like being 14-1 or something like that. So you are right. While I just sat here and poo-pooed on the division, like you took care of business in the division again, and you're 2 plays away.
9-7 in the division.
Wow, that's wild. But yeah, you're literally 2 possessions away from having 1 loss, and that 1 loss would have been the Hawks game. Now that I think about it, so yeah, impressive to some level. But regardless, you're the best in the Southeast, and hopefully stay that way for quite some time.
Couple of housekeeping things before we get further into the Magic talk here. As you all have heard the last few episodes, or you might have seen on social media, we have new shirts, the 6-man black tee that is on sale now at our shop online, the 6manshow.com/shop. That's up for pre-order now. That'll be up for pre-order. Literally, you've basically got like another week here. The 16th is going to be the last day that those are up, and then they'll be gone forever. So if you've already gotten a shirt, we really appreciate the support. We're super excited to get more of these in hand and see them in your hands and see people wearing them. Like last night, we were watching the Hawks game, and I saw 2 people on the broadcast wearing the shirt that I'm wearing now, the long sleeve, that we sold in December. So just awesome seeing these out kind of, in the wild. But again, if you want to get yours, head on over to the 6manshow.com/shop. And something we haven't really done in quite a while, I don't think we've really done this all season. We're getting closer. I think we're at 5.8 thousand subs on YouTube. Definitely want to get to 6,000 as soon as we can. So if you're watching this on YouTube, what's funny is only about half the people who watch our YouTube videos are actually subscribed. So if you're watching this right now, there's like a 50% chance that you're not already subscribed to the channel. So if you're watching this, you literally just move that cursor down a little bit and click the subscribe button. Helps out the channel a lot. And if you're in your car or you're on a jog, you're on the treadmill at the gym, whatever, and you're listening to this on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, really quickly, if you could go to your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a great review as well. All that stuff helps. It helps out the show. It helps out the algorithms. And it helps other Magic fans or possibly future Magic fans find the show. And we just really, really appreciate that a lot. So YouTube subs, Apple Podcasts, Spotify ratings, and reviews, if you all could do that for us, that would be absolutely huge, and we would very, very much appreciate that.
And it's free. So
it's free to do. It doesn't cost anything. Doesn't hurt anybody.
$0. It's great.
Yeah. Helps us out a lot, so would really, really appreciate that. Okay. Let's jump into the state of the Magic so far this week. Kevin, the Magic are 2-0 with wins over Atlanta and Boston. Now, at 40-40, the Magic are the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, and yet again have clinched the Southeast Division and the 7th seed. So the Magic will officially host the play-in game this coming Tuesday. I think, Kevin, you said before we started recording, that's going to be on TNT.
That's
Cannot wait for that. Going to be in the building. Kevin is, as he always does, is trying to figure out who is going to be broadcasting that and who's going to be calling that game. So I'm sure either tonight or maybe, I don't know. You think we'll get that Monday, or do you think we'll get that ahead of time, Kev?
I mean, probably Monday, but I might, I might do a little sleuthing between now and then and see if I can guesstimate who it might be.
Love that. The Magic on the season right now, 2 games left, 27th in offensive rating with a positive, well, obviously a positive offensive rating. I don't even think it's possible to have a negative offensive rating, but 108.8, second in the league in defensive rating with a rating of 109.0, 17th in overall net rating with a negative net rating of 0.2. Since the All-Star break, Kevin, our Magic 13-11, 21st in offensive rating with a 112.5, third in defensive rating with a rating of 109.7, and 12th in overall net rating with a net rating of 2.8. 2 games remaining. Taking a look at the injury report, it's clean outside of the 2A guys, Jalen, Mo Wagner. Cole Anthony had like a vomit episode in the second, I think it was the second quarter tonight in that first half. Went to the bench for a little bit, was able to come back into the game later. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope played the first half. I think it was, 7 minutes for KCP in that first half on Wednesday. And then he didn't play in the second half due to quote-unquote left knee soreness. I was telling Carmen before the game started when she was seeing all of the guys that were out for the Celtics, and she's like, hey, can they do that? Like, are they faking it? Are they lying? I said, no, really at this point of the season, you can find any reason to sit anybody because everybody has something going on at this point in the season. And it kind of seems like that's probably the case with KCP. I'm sure he's going to be fine, to play either Friday or Sunday, or maybe they're going to sit him for the last couple of games. We can talk about that. I wouldn't be mad about that at all. But outside of that, it's just kind of the usual going on with the injury report, Kev.
Yeah, I don't know. The way if this was 3 weeks ago, I'd be like, whatever, rest KCP the rest of the season. The way he's playing right now, I don't want him to cool off, Maybe he can go out there and play, 7, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. The last 2 games, I agree, don't go crazy and run him 30 minutes, 35 minutes. But I don't want him to cool off because he's played pretty well, obviously, the last 3 weeks or so.
Let's see. Post All-Star break, I think David Steele was talking on the podcast, good grief, the broadcast. It's some kind of cast. That's earlier right. This evening that, like, since March 1st, KCP was shooting like 50% from 3, like all guys in the NBA that had like at least 32 attempts in that time, I believe it was. So over the last 32 games since the All-Star break, KCP is shooting 45.7% from behind the arc on 3.5 attempts. So we had really talked about this all season long, like, hey, we are going to get this stretch at some point during the season where KCP just goes crazy and shoots like 46% over a 10 or 15 game stretch. 23 games. I'm a little bit dyslexic. 23 games. Still, that's a quarter of the season. That is a significant sample size for KCP. And if we go for the entire season, let's see where he is at now. He's at 34.6%. Not where we wanted him to be, but he's getting hot at the right time. And he's been going crazy lately, lighting the net on fire. So yeah, I'm right there with you. If you can get him out there just for a few minutes, keep that rhythm, I get both sides of the argument here when it comes to KCP down the stretch. And let's save it for a little bit later, but now you've got these final 2 games. We can talk about how to handle that and what the Magic maybe should or should not do there.
Yeah.
But let's rewind a little bit to Tuesday night, heading into, at this point, what was the biggest game of the season for not only the Orlando Magic, but the Osceola Magic. Game 1 against the Stockton Kings, and they took that at home. So they have a 1-0 lead over the Stockton Kings in the G League Finals. But the Magic and Hawks going into this game, the 7th seed was literally up for grabs. If Magic won this game, they keep their hold on the 7th seed. Had the Hawks won, I believe they would have taken over the 7th seed, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least would have been able to keep the race going for a few more games down the final stretch here. And as we talked about on the last episode, Kev, like, we just never have sort of like normal games against Atlanta. The Magic had as much as a 14-point lead in this one, and it seemed like early in that second half they were going to be able to make a little bit of a run. But I think the Magic kind of, like, number one, Onyeka Okongwu started missing some shots as we got into that second half. He had a really good game. But Trae Young, who finishes with 10 assists in this game, in the second half, instead of having, Corey Joseph or somebody like that on Trae, we saw a lot more of Franz, Wagner, and Paolo Banchero being switched on a Trae. And everybody's always tried to say that Paolo's not a great defender, but I've never really bought into that. And he had some really impressive possessions on Trae Young in this game. And for me, Trae doesn't really ever scare me as a scorer as much as he does as a passer, and especially when he has guys like he's had in the past, like Clint Capella, or now, he had John Collins and now Onyeka Okongwu, these guys who are just great, like, lob threats. Trae is just so good at drawing 2 guys and just dumping over the top over and over and over again for these guys. But when the Magic, again, switched Franz and Paolo onto him, he was getting less of those opportunities. So I kind of feel like, at least for the Magic, that's the play. Like, put a bigger guy on Trae, a guy that can move his feet a little bit, keep him in front of him, because our other guards, like Gary, was just getting absolutely destroyed by Trae Young in some of the minutes that he was on him. So, but to the Magic's credit, again, Paolo Banchero, fantastic game, 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Franz Wagner, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Wendell, this might have been Wendell Carter. We've been saying this a lot recently. this might have been his best game of the season. 17 points, 9 rebounds, 6 steals, and 3 blocks. Wendell was literally all over the place, and as we continue to hype up KCP, 15 points, 3 of 6 from behind the arc. I was a little bit worried going into this game in past examples, whenever the Magic say, oh, this is a big game, we've got to find a way to win this one. They can come out flat in some of these games, and it didn't really feel like they came out flat. It wasn't great early on, but especially Wendell and the energy that he was bringing on both sides of the floor, I felt was a big lift for the Magic, and they just get a huge, massive win, which set them up to be able to lock up the division in the 7th seed on Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was a huge win. Another one of those games, I know we've said it a lot, but it's one of those games, just figure out a way to win and just get it done. Like, it's not going to be pretty. And this game wasn't. Like, the biggest thing that stands out from this game on the negative side of things was the free throw shooting. You leave 10 points at the line. If you're able to, miss 2 or 3 instead of 10, like if you knock down 7 or 8 more free throws, this game is put to bed much earlier. It's more than likely a blowout. And we're not sweating down the stretch. Not that we sweat down the stretch, but the fourth quarter, it was a 2-possession game there for moments. And so obviously a guy like Trae Young can turn that around in an instant. But yeah, I mean, credit to the Magic. They did a good job. They did what they needed to do on both ends. Again, I mean, you're holding Atlanta. I remember, Jonathan, you and I talked about this, I think on Sunday night outside of recording, about Atlanta's defensive record. They had only held a team under 100 points 2 times this entire season, right? Because they are just such a high power offense. They have a ton of possessions. They score a lot of points. And so you hold them to 112 points on Tuesday. Again, on paper, you say, oh, you're not holding anyone to 112. But the Atlanta Hawks, they've had some like 145 point games and stuff this year. And so, yeah, to be able to hold them down, that was big. But ultimately, yeah, like you said, Paolo was big. Wendell was outrageous. KCP was efficient. And all in all, just enough to get the job done over Atlanta, and a big part of sealing the 7th seed in the Southeast Division.
And after this game, our attention quickly, as we've talked about, turned to that Boston and New York game, which won because it was just a fantastic game. Jason Tatum hits the big 3 to force overtime, essentially, which was so weird. I can recall at least like 2 or 3 occasions of the Magic playing the Knicks over the last couple of years, and being down 3 in the final minutes, and Tibbs fouling so that you don't get that opportunity at 3. They didn't do that. Tatum hits a 3. And then I think it was it KCP who hit like a massive 3 late in that game to put them up, and they won. And we were looking at the minutes played, like, oh, Jaylen Brown only played, I think it was like, I don't know, 20 minutes in that game. And then Tatum played 47, and White played like 40, and Kristaps Porzingis played 35 plus minutes. And we're saying these guys have to leave NYC, a 2.5 hour flight to Orlando. You're probably not going to get in until 2-3 a.m. And then you've got to turn around and play the Magic when the rest of your schedule doesn't really matter. You're locked into the 2 seed. It looked pretty likely early on that we weren't going to see at least the majority of their guys. I thought maybe at first we could see Jaylen Brown, but then you hear that he's got this like kind of knee injury that's going on, and he was questionable, which was funny. Like on the injury report, that comes out second night of a back-to-back. You have to submit that by 1 o'clock local time. And when I saw all those guys out and saw Jaylen Brown questionable, I'm like, there's no way he's going to play in this game. And then when you saw the starting lineup in this one of Baylor, Shireman, Torrey Craig, Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, and Peyton Pritchard, the most white dudes we've seen in the starting lineup, I think, all year. It was like, you just need to come out and take care of business. And the first quarter of this game was about as ugly as it gets, but the Magic led 27-21, and then were able to build, a pretty significant lead in the second quarter, and then carry that over into the second half. And after that first quarter, it never really felt like Boston was threatening. I think the lead might have gotten down to 9, at one point late in the first half, or maybe early in the third quarter. But then the Magic got that lead out to almost 30 before pulling all of our guys a few minutes later and cruising to a nice 20-point victory. And just being able to take care of business. You and I have talked about this the last few weeks. The Celtics, by name, you think it's a quality opponent, but when you see the lineup, it kind of felt like our guys let their foot off the gas a little bit early in the game. And then credit to Jamal Mosley, I felt like he was able to put that sense of urgency into them and say, hey, yes, this is not a great team right now, but if we can play, another 30 minutes of really good basketball, we are going to lock ourselves into that 7th seed and put us in the best possible position that we can, at least at this point. I thought Cole obviously was incredible. He puked. We talked about that in the first half of this game, but comes back in 18 points in almost 22 minutes, 6 of 13 from the floor, 5 of 10 from behind the arc, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, just 1 turnover for Cole. I thought he was awesome. I felt Franz was pretty solid. Paolo was okay, but just didn't need that much out of those guys. They kind of let the defense speak for itself tonight. And again, 96-76 victory. And you're the Southeast Division champs. You got the 7th seed locked up.
The Sixth Man Show is brought to you by Jam Hot Chicken. It's amazing chicken over there in Winter Park, and they're bringing Jam's culture and hot chicken right here to Central Florida. It's a Central Florida company owned by die-hard Magic fans. We're big fans of them because they're big fans of the Magic and big fans of this Magic community. They're a Nashville and LA inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated, again, in Winter Park, Florida at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. A very chill place you can go hang out, get some good food, which Jam Hot has, but also a nice outdoor seating. Bring a friend, bring a significant other, bring the family. I don't know, a nice day outside. It's a great place to do that. You can follow them on all social media at Jam Hot Chicken. You can also visit their website, jamhotchickenfl.com. where you can access the menu, order online, and check out all things Jam Hot. Also, if you're local to Winter Park, Uber Eats is available for you as well. You can get Jam Hot Chicken delivered right to your door. And so, yeah, they're awesome. We love Jam Hot Chicken. Big shout out to them for sponsoring us again for a 2nd season. And yeah, always, when you go visit Jam Hot Chicken, just let them know that the guys at the Sixth Man Show sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by Irish Magic Mike, Daniel Flores, Daniel El Mahi, Cohen Smith, Sheiks, Ship Sinks. These are some of our Hall of Fame and Elite Tier patrons. They help make each and every episode possible, as well as all of our other patrons. Can't do anything that we do without you guys, from podcasts to in-person events, watch parties, the Sixth Fan Show, post-game live. None of that is possible without our patrons. So if you like what we're doing here, want to help financially support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/the Sixth Man Show. Select whatever tier works best for you. We appreciate each and every bit. And now let's get back to the episode.
I honestly, one of the most electric moments of the season to me happened in this game. It's going to be criminally underrated because this game was a throwaway, because of the quality of the opponent that you're playing. But at the end of that first quarter, we had, I think, Boston turned the ball over somehow. Gary Harris with a corner 3. Anthony Black steals the inbound pass, finds Cole Anthony for another triple, and that is how the Magic ultimately got the separation for this game. At the very, very end of that first quarter, again, like you said, I think they won the quarter 27-21. But and then the very next play, Anthony Black forced another turnover. That's the other piece I missed. So, this really frantic, all in total, it was probably less than 20 seconds, but you get 2 threes, 3 steals, 2 threes. It was really electric. Shout out to Anthony Black. But anyway, this was just a weird game. Let's be honest. Like you said, once you see the lineups, you're just like, okay. I do love the fact that all those Celtics fans, quote unquote fans, that spent who knows how many hundreds of dollars to go to Kia Center tonight, they got treated to not seeing any of their favorite players, except a lot of them probably do love some of those players. But the best players, they didn't see the star players, and they lost by 20. So I hope they had a great time visiting Kia Center. And yeah, probably, unfortunately, we might see some of them soon in a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. I kind of want to save the Celtics talk because we have other things to worry about. We have to win at least one other game before we can really even get into that conversation. So maybe we'll spend some more time talking about potential play-in opponents on this pod, and then maybe I don't know. I really don't want to look ahead of that. I feel like a lot of Magic fans already are looking ahead of that. I don't want to look ahead of it in looking to the playoffs. I also, you talked about it on the post-game live, but I don't want people to overlook going to this game on Tuesday. And I guess really the only logical place for us to go now is to talk about the play-in, but we can't stress enough how important it is to treat that game on Tuesday at home at Kia Center like it is a Game 7, because for the Magic, it very well could be. We're going to talk about the different opponents here. I can promise you, I do not want to see like Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic coming into Kia. What would that be? Next Friday would be the 7 or the 8th place game.
Seed game, yeah.
I don't want to see those guys coming into our building with the season on the line. I really don't. Yeah. So we need to pack the house on Tuesday, treat that like it is a Game 7, do or die playoff environment, like just light the place on fire, figuratively, and get the dub. Like, bring the energy. Like, I want nothing more. I tweeted this Tuesday because Jalen Suggs was on the bench. Like, just walk Jalen out in front of the crowd, get him firing up the place, because there just wasn't a lot of energy in the building to start that game on Tuesday. I absolutely would send Jalen Suggs out there before the tip of that playing game to get the crowd going and just, again, light everybody's hair on fire and just bring that energy, because we are going to need it. I want no part of that 8th place game.
Yeah, that will be very stressful. But you're right. I mean, we got to look at Tuesday's game in that way. You mentioned opponent. Yeah, we'll see. It depends on what fan bases could potentially be involved, but all the true diehard Magic fans need to be loud, need to be proud. And I think they can. You mentioned it. I said on the post game live, like, I think right now the Magic are better than any of the 3 opponents, which I know we're about to talk about, are better than all 3. They're playing better right now than all 3. Honestly, the Magic are tied for the hottest team in the East right now. They are 8-2 in their last 10. So are the Celtics. So are the Pacers. That's it. So the Magic are hitting their stride at the right time. I feel like they're better than the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Heat, whichever one they play on Tuesday. But what I said in the post-game live is, I think the difference maker in that game could very well be the environment, the atmosphere, the crowd. And so let's say it's a 50-50 toss-up game. It's going to be the home crowd that can flip it your way, make it more in your favor. So yeah, Magic fans show up on Tuesday. Tickets go on sale today as you're listening to this, Thursday. Pre-sale is at 10 a.m. On sale to the public at 1 p.m. According to the Magic's press release that they put out just a few minutes ago. But yeah, definitely go to that game. And hey, it's also a franchise first. We've never done this before. We've never had the play-in. Go experience history. Go see the Magic. Hopefully get a win in that 7-8 play-in game.
Yeah, you're mentioning how well the Magic are playing. Like, heading into tonight's game, so not including the Celtics game, 9-4 in our last 13, 10-5 in the last 15. So you're 13-11 since the All-Star break in your last 24, but you're 10-5 in your last 15. At least heading into tonight, that mark might even be a little bit better. With tonight's win. So you're at least 11-5 in your last 16, right? So Magic. Right. Man, as tough as January and February were, like March and now the beginning of April, Magic are really starting to play better basketball and hitting their stride. So to talk about opponents, Bulls Heat just wrapped up, I believe, with the Bulls getting the victory over the Heat. So if we go to the standings, and let me just confirm, yeah, that game's over 119-111. So if we go to the standings, I don't think they're going to be updated just yet. So the Bulls are 37-43. So what are they, a half game now behind Atlanta? Yep. And Miami is going to be, I guess, a game and a half.
That's right.
Behind
so the
Atlanta
Hawks,
at this point.
Yeah, the Hawks will be the Bulls will be a half game back in the 9th seed, and the Heat will be a full game back of the Bulls in 10th. So yeah, a game and a half separates those 3 teams.
So it's looking like Miami is most likely going to end up in that 9-10 game. All 3 of these teams, we can open this up here, but all 3 of these teams have like very winnable games down the stretch. Like it would not shock me at all if all 3 of those teams, except Atlanta's game against Orlando, I guess that we can talk about how we're going to approach that. But looking at Chicago is at home versus Washington on Friday. and then at Philadelphia to close out their year. Miami, they are at New Orleans and then home for Washington. So that could very easily be 2 wins for them. And then Atlanta has Brooklyn on Thursday. Then they've got a back-to-back. They're at Philadelphia, but that's really not that far of a trip from Brooklyn to Philly. So not a lot of travel there, but it's still a road back-to-back. And then they finish the season, obviously, at home Sunday versus us. So the Atlanta thing is still kind of up in the air. For me, Kev, it feels like it's most likely going to be either Atlanta or Chicago that we'll be hosting on Tuesday. And Miami still has a chance, but I think Atlanta and Chicago would both have to, lose out.
And
Miami
be real,
would have
though.
to win out.
Yeah, let's be real though. The Chicago-Miami schedules, like Washington, Philly, New Orleans, Washington, literally three of the worst 4 teams in basketball outside the Utah Jazz. So those 2 teams have it made. And Washington, Philly, and New Orleans do not want to win any basketball games. They're going to be trying their best.
Friday, Miami at New Orleans, the get-in price is $2. I know we've been ragging on New Orleans with these get-in prices, but $2 is absolutely crazy.
And that's their fan appreciation night. That's their last home game of the season, $2 to get in. Man, that's rough. But
their fan appreciation is, hey, you come to this game, we'll give you $2.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. So all in all, what's going to happen is Bulls are going to go 2-0. Miami's going to go 2-0. You can just, barring an absolute historical disaster for not just those teams, but again, for the tanking teams. If they win one of these games, that's a disaster for them. So you expect the Bulls to go.
Washington, at this point, they are locked into bottom 3 odds. Because
Right,
Utah's
correct.
got 16 wins, they've got 17, Charlotte's got 19, and then New Orleans has 21. So there could be a world where Washington says, screw it. It doesn't matter if we win these last 2 games.
Well, they get a little bit of an edge. What is it? The 1 seed? Or not the 1 seed. What am I talking about? They get a little bit of a percentage points edge on something. I can't remember what it is. Is it the number 1 pick or something like that? They're not all equal. They're equal
the
top 4.
The top 3, I believe, are equal. Let me go to our trusty friend Tankathon. Haven't seen you in a while.
I think they're equal for the number 1 pick, but they're not equal for
Correct.
top 4. That's what it is.
Well, they're locked into the top 3, so they can't fall to 4. So even if they win out,
I'm saying the percentages between the best, the top 3 odds, they're not actually equal. They're equal for number 1.
Nope, all 3, 52.1% for top 4 odds. And all top 3, 14%.
I could have sworn there's this tiny change down the line somewhere.
You might be right.
Maybe it's top 10.
It's not coming to mind right now.
I'm going to look at it. All right.
Sure.
I'm going to look at it. But
yeah, I guess if you finish 3rd, you could technically fall further, I guess.
Exactly. There is some edge to that.
Sure.
But yeah, regardless, I just cannot imagine Miami and Chicago losing those games. There's just no way.
I'm right there with you.
So let's say they go 2-0 each. Okay, the standings are updated. Let's say they go 2-0. So Chicago's 39-43, and Miami is 38-44. All right. So that means that Atlanta plays Washington on Friday, as you mentioned, I believe. Brooklyn. They play Brooklyn Thursday. Brooklyn, Philadelphia. That's Philly, the other bad team I was thinking of. Philadelphia. That's the team they play. So this Brooklyn game for Atlanta is very big on Thursday. Let's say they find a way to win that game. They'll be 38 wins. They're going to beat Philly. That's 39. And then that game on Sunday potentially could decide who the Magic play, right? If Atlanta's sitting on 38 wins, Chicago's on 39 wins, it could decide it. And that will be very interesting to see what the Magic do if they try to lean their play-in opponent one way or another. We saw how that went last year with the Cavs. They ultimately beat us, but we made life very difficult for them when they tried to rig, I guess, their first round opponents. So we'll see what the Magic do on that Sunday and if it really matters at all, honestly.
I think you have to be very careful over the course of the next, 4 days here, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. I think you have to be careful, going into this last couple of games with Indiana and Atlanta, because you don't want guys going out and getting hurt, but you also don't want guys cold going into that Tuesday play-in game. And we've seen how this team can struggle with extended rest. So I guess we can talk about this now. Neither of these games really matter for us, right? So I'm fine with like our guys playing like the first half against Indiana. But going into Atlanta, how do you want the Magic to handle that? I think we would both agree that if it's, you beat Atlanta and you get Miami, I'm all for beating Atlanta. But if you lose or if you beat Atlanta and you get Chicago, I probably don't want to do that. If you lose to Atlanta and you get Atlanta, I'm fine with playing Atlanta in the play-in.
I agree. I don't think I don't know. We've never been in this position
I don't want the
before.
Magic to care.
You just want them to go. You want them to send it.
I want them to send it. I have my own personal preference. I don't want my team to have the mentality of actually, no, we want this team and not that team. Because this team should believe at home they can beat any three of these teams without a problem.
Right. I agree. And that's what I was getting at was I don't think the Magic know how to even do that. Like, you think Jamal Mosley is going to sit there and be like, well, let's do the only thing I think could happen is I think just for the sake of protecting their players, that I think it is possible, regardless of standing situation on Sunday or even Friday, that they play everyone the first half and play backups in the second half, or maybe it's 3 quarters. I don't know. Almost like preseason style. I would be very, very disappointed if we're running Paolo out there for 35 minutes in either of these games, and he's pushing, going crazy, and risking life and limb. Like, I would be very disappointed. But again, I don't know that Jamal Mosley knows how to not give 110% every night. So this is going to be an interesting exercise here, I think, for him and for the whole organization to see how they handle this weekend.
If it was something where, Paolo and Franz had played more games and it was like, oh, if they play these last couple of games, they could be eligible for all NBA and that kind of stuff, or MVP, whatever, I would be for that. Like, just, hey, like, let these guys, that's kind of stuff is important to these guys. So I would be fine with that. But Franz is going to finish at 61 at best. Paolo's going to finish at 47 at best. And funny enough, the guy who is, or the two guys that are going to finish playing more games than anyone on the roster are Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Anthony Black, followed up by none other than Jonathan Isaac, who did not play tonight. To me, I think that was calculated. I didn't feel like that it was a matchup kind of thing. It's, hey, second night of a back-to-back. We've got 2 games until the postseason. He doesn't really need to be out there right now.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that being said, I know we don't want the Magic to approach these last couple of games with a preference, but what is your preference? I'm kind of like Miami, Atlanta, Chicago.
I think I'm in the same. I think Atlanta and Chicago both scare me for different reasons, but I would feel much more confident against Atlanta than I would Chicago. Do I think the Magic can beat Chicago? Absolutely. Would I be scared? Yes. I would be scared of seeing Chicago. I'd honestly be scared to see Nikola Vucevic like come to Kia Center, and you hate to lose to him, but obviously I don't want to beat him. I mean, I do want to beat him, but I'd hate to end his season. Like, I would feel sad about that. So there's the emotional situation. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be so sad. I would.
And the thing is, Vooch has not really had like a Magic killer moment, right? Like, he's actually had a couple of things the opposite, where
that's right.
He's had some kind of late game fumbles that have helped the Magic secure wins over the course of the last few years.
Yeah,
he might be kind of due for a 25-15 type of game against us, and for that to happen in a play-in would really hurt. Like, okay, dude, like you couldn't have done this in a regular season game. You got to wait to a play-in game to have a game like that against us. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. yeah, I these last two games are not really an afterthought, but having the peace of mind of like, hey, like we're gonna host this game. I think that's gonna go a long way for us. But I'm really interested to see how we approach Sunday's game versus Atlanta. And who knows, like that might not really matter. Like if the Bulls and Heat lose a game and the Hawks beat Brooklyn and Philadelphia, I'm pretty sure they would wrap up the 8th seed at that point. No,
you said if the Bulls lose,
yeah, if the Bulls and Heat lose a game and Atlanta goes 2-1, then I'm pretty sure that they would they'd finish the 8th seed. So who knows? Like we might get to Sunday and that game not matter depending on what happens. Right. But yeah, we're expecting Chicago and Miami to win both of their last games. Yeah. But hey, you never know. Like tonight for Philadelphia, I want to say Jeff Doughton Jr. had like 30. Yeah, he had 30 points tonight against the Wizards.
There you go. Thank you.
Hey, respect Jeff Doughton Jr., who once upon a time had a game winner against these very same Boston Celtics.
Orlando Magic preseason legend Jeff Doughton Jr., of course. Yes. Yeah. I did do some digging on the lottery odds we were talking about earlier. It's not exactly the same across the board. Like, the top two, it's 14% for the number one, but number one seed, or I keep saying that, the number one odds, the worst they can get is 5. Number two odds, the worst they can get is 6, 3, 7, that kind of thing. Right. So there is still incentive for these teams.
Sure.
And so that's why I think they're absolutely going to tank the mess out of this weekend. Yeah. So I expect all those teams to lose to the play-in opponents.
Yeah, that would definitely make sense. Hey, tonight, I think it was the first half, the Magic had a tribute for Paul Porter, where Bo Outlaw and Nick Anderson presented him with a number 36 jersey that said Porter on the back of it, and he was honored and got to stand, and Magic fans stand and cheered for him, obviously. How did you feel about that whole... I mean, I know we don't feel great about the situation, but how did you feel about the tribute?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was very due. It was hard to tell on the broadcast, but it did look like maybe Paul Porter was a little emotional, which was kind of cool. Like, not that really matters either way, but I mean, you have to, at least I put myself in his shoes there. Like, as we're hearing him say some of these things, like, I remember in the fourth quarter, I don't even remember which no-name Boston Celtics player it was, but they traveled. And hearing Paul Porter say traveling Magic ball, I literally thought, wow, that more than likely, we're in the fourth quarter. That's probably going to be the last time he does a traveling call in a regular season game at Kia Center. And it stinks that it's with this random third, fourth stringer Celtics player, but whatever. So moments like that, I wonder what goes through his mind. I've never done anything for 36 years as I'm 33 years old today, but I don't know what that experience is like, but it has to be after doing something you love for 36 years, like so surreal and emotional to go through that tonight. Now, again, obviously there's going to be at least 2 more games for Paul Porter to do at home. There'll be postseason games, but regular season wise, everything wrapping up tonight. So it was nice. It was heartfelt. It was cool. Again, it still doesn't quite sit right with me that it's happening at all. But what's done is done, and so I was glad they were able to honor him tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. Like, the whole situation is really unfortunate and sucks, and it just kind of... I can't think of a better adjective other than gross. Gross probably isn't the right way to describe that, but I just have this not great feeling about, hey, like, we're honoring you and all this kind of stuff, but we're kind of... At least Paul Porter's side of the story is that he's being essentially forced out, which it just sucks because it's not what he wants. It's not what Magic fans want. So it's like, what's the real benefit to doing this? It doesn't really seem like there is one, at least at this point. So, the traveling and just the way that he enunciates players' names and everything like that. Definitely going to miss that. Luckily, like you said, we have at least 2 more home games of that. Hopefully it turns into another, 5 or 10 or whatever. I know we're not really expecting that, but definitely not going to be upset if we get a little bit more, Paul Porter. And again, we should point out that he's talked about how he probably will return from time to time, but my guess is that's going to be so sparingly, and we're really not going to get much of a heads up ahead of time. So your odds of being at another like Paul Porter, PA game are probably pretty low. Maybe they'll bring him back for the playoffs, but you'd have to think that they're going to be bringing somebody else in full time, and that person is going to get that. So,
correct.
Yeah, I mean, you'll probably hear his voice again on like broadcast, but like unless you go to a ton of games every year, there's a good chance that if you were there tonight or these games the rest of the season here, could be the last time that you hear Paul Porter in Kia Center.
I think there's a Debbie Downer moment here. It's shocking. Kevin does this every once in a while. I think there's a non-zero chance that he doesn't fill in ever again. That's what I think.
I mean, that's fair. Like he might just sit on it this offseason, but you know what? I actually don't feel like going back.
I think either side. I think it's possible because Paul Porter in his conversation with Jason Beatty said that the Magic said they're open to it. Not that they didn't say they're committed to it. They said we're open to it. That was a direct quote from Paul Porter. And so that's where I'm like, I don't know. That to say, I think it's very possible that this will be his last regular season game. This will be his last season, all those things.
And if he's not given the opportunity, we won't hear about it publicly.
That's right.
It'll just be one of those things that we'll, just kind of wonder about. So,
but
I mean, just can't express enough just, what Paul Porter means to us and has meant to the organization and the fan base and everything like that. And, I probably will like go to a Lightning game just to be able to hear from Paul Porter. I'm obviously not that far where I live and ton of fun going to those games, but it's definitely unfortunate. Hey, another tribute. I know this is a Magic podcast, but did kind of compare the Paul Porter thing to the Luka Doncic thing, and it just so happened that both of those tributes happened literally at the exact same time.
Literally, it was.
I don't
crazy.
think that's a coincidence.
I was literally second screening that just to watch the Luka reception and stuff, but I was like, the first quarter ended. I saw them start the Paul Porter tribute. They literally started the Luka tribute, and I texted you. I was like, dude, they're both happening at the same time. It was crazy.
Very, very strange. And dude, you and I talked about this before we started recording. If anything even remotely similar ever happens to the Orlando Magic or an Orlando Magic player or any team that I'm a fan of for that matter, anything close to this ever happens, I would be done with that team and be done with that sport for the rest of my life. I thought the Nikola Vucevic first interview in Chicago was tough to watch. Watching Luka get emotional, watching that and knowing everything that we know and everything that's kind of happened over the span of the last, month and a half, 2 months since that trade. If I was a Dallas Mavericks fan, I would just be so angry and heartbroken.
Yep.
I would never, ever be able to bring myself to emotionally invest into a player and a basketball team ever again. I don't know how they're doing it. Luka, I think, had 45 points dropped on the Mavericks tonight and the Lakers win. And after the game, he said, I don't know how I did it. Like during that video, I told myself there's no way I'm going to be able to play. And I wish you would have dropped 1 million on them tonight.
Yeah, I just sick for them. Like, especially, it's true for any franchise, but Dallas, like, they have this reputation mainly because of their time with Dirk. Like, if they find their superstar, they're just going to take good care of him and keep him forever, right? Like, and so the fact that they had, and I know we're rehashing essentially 2-month-old news now, but those wounds came back today, right? This generational
it's still
talent,
as unbelievable now as it was that night.
Just as unbelievable what they did. And it's one thing if they traded him and got an amazing haul, but what they got back is still it's foul. It reeks. It is just stinky. Like, it's awful. And so I feel so bad for him, but you're right. I would be done. I would just be done. I couldn't handle that. I could not handle watching my team play basketball every night with that in the back of my mind. And certainly a night like tonight, watching him come back in our building, not just in any other jersey, in a Lakers jersey. And then not only that, he drops 45 on your head And then not only that, you lose by 15 to the Los Angeles Lakers. Like that just literally sounds like hell. That is what hell will be like. Will be that experience. So sign me up.
Not
I
to
don't want it.
mention, probably 80% of the building was rooting for Luka and the Lakers.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah, no,
imagine being a Mavs fan who's like, look, I get it. I'm heartbroken about the Luka thing. I just can't root for the Lakers. I'm happy for him, but I'm still going to root for the Mavs. And just like, we think we've experienced tough stuff with like the Lakers and the Celtics. We have never experienced something like the Mavs fans experienced tonight.
That's right. And literally praying that we never do. So, thank you. I'm out.
I promise you all, Kevin and I would probably legitimately take a few days off of the pod to like think about and talk about what we would do. And we would both come to the conclusion that it's over.
We would become a Tampa Bay Lightning podcast. That's what we would do. We would just shift all our hours over there. And,
I don't know. I do love the Lightning, but this is the only team that I could do this with.
Yeah.
So 2 games remaining in the season, Kev. Pacers. What?
I have one more thing to add. I'm so sorry. We talked about Tuesday's play-in game. Okay. Obviously, very important. You should go. Friday night, the Osceola Magic, you alluded to this earlier. They're going to play their game 2 against the Stockton Kings. If the Osceola Magic do not clinch the series there Friday, I have a wild 24 hours for you, Central Florida basketball fans. Because if they lose that game Friday, they will come back to Osceola, to Kissimmee, and host game 3 Monday night on ESPN2. Then the next night, the Orlando Magic would host a play-in game on TNT. Again, a wild 24 hours potentially of Magic basketball in Central Florida. So if you're a Magic fan and that game 3 happens, you should go to that game 3 on Monday and then go to that play-in game on Tuesday. To me, that sounds like, we talked about hell earlier. That sounds like heaven. Just 2 amazing Magic basketball games in 24 hours. Sign me up. I'd love it. That's all.
You've got salvation and condemnation right there. That's what a plug. Right. Speaking of plugs, Sunday, the regular season finale, Magic at Atlanta. Watch party Sunday, April 13th at 12:30 at Tin Roof, 8371 International Drive. Head on out to Tin Roof again Sunday. Tip-off's at 1 o'clock. Watch party's going to get going at 12:30. Regular season finale, a great primer to get you ready for the play-in, get ready for the rest of the playoffs. Again, that's going to be at Tin Roof, located at 8371 International Drive. Be sure to head out to Tin Roof and cheer on your Magic as I'm sure this Jamal Mosley coach team will be looking for a win in that game 82 there. Kev,
so add that to the week. Sorry, I was going to say add that. That's 3 days in a row. You go to the watch party Sunday, you go to Osceola Monday, you go to the play-in game Tuesday, and then that sounds like a great week to me. That's all.
That's a good 72 hours there. Kevin, how many times have you refreshed the Fanatics website as we're sitting here recording this? I've been refreshing about every 5 minutes, waiting for that Southeast Championship shirt to come up. And lo and behold, there's nothing so far.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be quick to put
Hopefully
that on
in the
there.
morning.
I mean, yeah, maybe if they feel like it. We'll see. They probably don't even know we won the division. Most people won't, but this could be a great way to end the show, Jonathan, because you and I have. I don't know if you remember this. You and I talked about this. It might have been last year. I don't buy division champ stuff. Like I can't get there. Which if you do, that's great. I don't have any negative thoughts, or I don't judge anyone. But to me, I feel like I got to reserve the champion stuff for the champion stuff. You know what I'm saying? I can't bring myself to do it.
So you wouldn't buy an Eastern Conference championship?
That's even worse than division champs to me.
The logic does not track whatsoever.
You buy an Eastern Conference championship shirt, you are literally buying a second place shirt. That's what you're doing.
Nope,
thank you.
You're buying a first place in the Eastern Conference shirt.
Nope, you're buying first loser shirt to me.
You don't buy if FSU were to make a Final Four. Let's get real.
Okay, you guys have been watching the 6-man show.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't buy a Final Four shirt?
Absolutely not.
That's wild.
Nope.
See,
save it for the national champions.
Even if my teams don't go all the way, I still like to remember good seasons because, as I have been made very aware of in my time being a Magic fan and being a Giants fan, you think those are going to go on forever, and then all of a sudden they don't, and you got nothing. So yes, I will cherish Eastern Conference championships when they come and Southeast Division championships when they come. And if the Magic won the frickin' play-in, I'd buy a play-in championship shirt just because I would. So,
like an NBA Cup thing? I would buy an NBA Cup champion shirt.
Whatever.
I would buy that. NBA Cup semifinalist shirt? No thanks. I'm out.
Okay, so you're fine with buying a shirt that says you came first place in the NBA Cup, but not the season long in your own division?
Yeah, because you got first place in a competition, the whole competition,
you
not
got
a fraction of the competition.
First place in a whole 82 game competition.
In the fraction of the little Southeast fraction of the competition, you got first place.
So you would buy a trophy for like a 3-week tournament, but not a 6-month season
because you finished on top of everybody.
Whatever, man. We can agree. We can just agree to disagree here. But the thing is, though, like, I don't ever wear... No, the one shirt that I did wear a lot was the 2018-2019 division. One, because it had just been forever since we had won the division. But it was also just a really cool-looking shirt. It had clinched. It was like a hoop and a net and everything like that. The ones, from last year, that one was really kind of crappy. I thought you were going to tell me that you don't buy division championship shirts because you're waiting to buy the playoff shirt.
Now that's
you do buy
different.
the playoff shirt.
That is different. Yeah,
I don't know, man. It doesn't feel different
because that's celebrating clinching the playoffs.
Whatever. Bro. No, dude. No. This is where we've lost the plot. But hey, I know we're gonna have a mini Fanatics rant here. The fact that we have to just sit and wait to see what Fanatics does because Fanatics has a complete monopoly over like sports memorabilia and apparel and all this kind of stuff is so crazy now. And last year, I bought the Everybody In playoff shirt the moment it became available, and I did not get it until after the season had been over for like 3 or 4 days after we had lost in the first round.
Yep.
Somebody orders a shirt and you can't get it to them domestically in 2.5 weeks, there's a problem there.
If I think we've talked about this before, if I was a multi-millionaire or maybe billionaire, one of the first things I would do with all of my wealth is I would fund a deep dive documentary into Fanatics and how they seemingly overnight in the span of just a few years became a true monopoly in the sports, merchandise universe. Like, how did they do it? I'm not going to sit here and make any guesses. I don't want to get sued in court or whatever, but it probably wasn't very, very clean. And the fact that they're allowed to do it, like monopolies aren't allowed in this country, and yet they basically have one. And so I could go on and on forever. I think Fanatics is disgusting. And so,
any site you go to, whether it be, look, they have the WWE, they have golf, they have Formula One, NASCAR, NFL, this Division I college, MLB, NHL, MLS, all of the European and international soccer teams. You go to any one of their sites and you go to shop, and it brings you, whether you realize it or not, it brings you to Fanatics.
It'll say in the top corner, a Fanatics experience. That's what it'll do.
Experience.
And so, they're little sly dogs over there. I don't know how they got away with it, but they're making a lot of money. And so, but yeah, when that document, by the way, that is my idea. If someone else steals it, I'm going to sue you for making that document. Just kidding. I hope someone does. And they out whatever nonsense is happening over there at Fanatics.
Yeah. So looking forward to my division championship shirt. And I hope you are looking forward to your 6-Man Show black tee. Head on over to the 6manshow.com/shop and pre-order yours. Again, those are going to be up for the next week or so, and then they'll be gone forever. But Kev, I think we're going to wrap this one up. What do you say here? That is going to do it for this one for Kevin Tucker. Happy birthday. This has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6-Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!